Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by in the sunshine. I haven't done a bonsai full update for a while. It would be nice to individually set the trees up somewhere to look at them, but it's just too much hassle, quite honestly. I haven't got many trees, so unlike some bonsai update videos, we won't be looking at hundreds of trees. We'll be looking at the ones I've got. And as they're in the sunshine, we'll just go round and have a look at individual trees, quite honestly, and a chat about what's been going on. This is my Deshojo cherry, Fuji cherry, whatever you want to call it. It's put on a nice lot of growth this year. It struggled a bit in the heat wave last year, didn't do very well, dropped its leaves early. I was worried it was going to make it at all, but we've put on some nice growth this year. Got it in its bonsai pot, it's been fed regular, and it's got the basis of an interesting trunk here. I haven't finalised the branch selection or anything. I did start to wire it, and several major branches snapped in the process, so I stopped. Literally, I stopped. The branches that I have wired haven't swollen up enough this year to be cutting in yet, so the wire can stay there. I'll probably take it off after the leaves drop because it'll be easier. Now, my one and only Azalea, which turns out not to have the blooms that I was told. It had a code number on it from its import, and that code, when looked up, showed a sort of pinky purpley colour and white stripy bloom. Well, in fact, the blooms are red. Quite honestly, I prefer that. This one had the flowers. It did produce a few flowers, not many. Got repotted earlier this year, and I cut it back with the hope that it would start back budding. It's not doing much of it yet. I don't think it's got its strength back yet from its repot. This looks like the back, but it is in fact the front. I wanted some budding, literally along the thicker branches and hopefully down the trunk. It hasn't happened yet, but I've got the back of the tree facing the light, and it gets some sunshine, but it is shaded by one of the maples, so it gets sun for a small amount of the day, and then it's in the shade, dappled shade I would call it, because there's probably some sun comes through this. These two maples here that you can see are what I call sister maples, even though one actually now looks quite a bit bigger than the other one. But basically I call them sisters because they were bought together as 6-inch rooted cuttings. So that's how I got them. No IDs, I've got no type or anything like that for them. This one, quite honestly, is now looking a good tree. I like this tree a lot. I like the fact that it has an open aspect to it, like a mature tree. This looks like a real tree in miniature, which to me is what bonsai is all about. Very gentle movement to the trunk, opening up to a nice domed apex with some lower branches forming nice pads. It's got a nice gnarly sort of bark to it. I like that a lot. And then its sister, as I call it, is not quite such a good shape. Not quite sure why. I think what it lacks is a more mature apex, so it needs more up over the top. That's my theory, which would, if you look at the size of these pads and the branch structure, again some nice form to the trunk, not exactly an S shape, but not far off. You know me and my S shapes, I really don't like them that much. And then it opens up into an apex, which I believe now needs to be developed to make this tree. This bit here, this apex, needs to be this big so that it domes over more in line with the pads. So that's my plans for that. This staging I did quite a while ago. Oh, that's my 6 Blackthorn, or quickthorn some people call them. There's only 4 left. There was 6, there's only 4, and I really don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. The idea was to bind them together at the base and make a clump style, but I have to bear in mind how much longer I'm going to be growing, given that I shall be 73 soon. We don't live forever, but I would like my trees to live forever. Doing my best. Right, all the rest now. Over here we have some advances in the bonsai world, because I now have my 2 separate sets of staging set up. This is recent. We'll go over here first. This one was made from 2 large pieces of timber with the addition of a top section just basically screwed on, and then stained black. It looks a bit grubby at the moment, but it does clean up quite nicely. And on here we've got my beech tree. Now, believe it or not, that was absolutely soaked this morning, and it's starting to look dry in this sun. This is becoming a nice tree, quite honestly. The bark is starting to get that nice grey look to it. It's got some form. Basically, this tree's just been turned. I keep looking at it front and back, and I think I'm going to finalise the fact that this is the front view, because it bows towards us from this view. And next time I repot it, which will be this coming spring, it's climbing out of the pot. Yeah, the roots are just pushing the tree out of the pot, so it will need doing. And I will set it back slightly, not a lot, but slightly. So we'll change the angle at the repotting stage. And then coming around here we have a Scots pine that was yanked out of the ground. Literally, you've heard the story many times. I just wanted to see if I could pull one out of the ground, not dig, not cut round the roots, not all that, no, just get hold of it and pull. And I fell A over B, sat in some really wet moss and got a very damp rear end, which I then sat in the car and got a damp driver's seat. But that's how I got it. It's not a brilliant tree, but it has put on a lot of growth this year, and as a consequence I would imagine it's now got a good root system, because it didn't have one before. And then here we've got a little Japanese larch, and quite honestly we're heading towards the end of August now. It doesn't sound like it's autumn. Not when you say end of August, you sort of think, well, it's the middle of summer, everybody's on their summer holidays, the kids are off school, yeah. But some trees go early. Now again, this was repotted, it didn't have very good roots, and the older needles on here are starting to go. Yeah, but it's put on a reasonable amount of growth this year. It's had no pruning, effectively. I wanted to get the strength into it before I start hacking away at stuff and shaping branches and doing stuff like that. I probably won't do much shaping to that, actually. The trunk flows nicely, branches come off nicely. I haven't done final branch selection yet, so that's a work in progress, definitely. And then what a lot of people think is my best tree, that's debatable, but I can see why people think that. I'll show you why it's debatable. A good bonsai you should be able to view from all sides. The back side of this, it's just got nothing in there. It's basically been trained and grown and wired to look good from one side only. And that is reasonable given the trunk. This is the nice side of the tree. Now this got quite heavily wired. The wire's been taken off this year, and as a consequence a few branches sort of went boing and popped up, which broke their what I call the skyline. It broke the skyline. Those have been trimmed to get that skyline back, and there will need to be more trimming done. Not yet, but here, this bit sticks up. There's more than enough growth on that pad to just take that piece out, should I choose to do so. This is the point I wanted to get with this tree. This bit dangling down here, that can come off now. Yeah? This is nicely domed. That's okay as it is. But over here, it overhangs that pad. This pad could still do with going down. This whole branch could do with pulling down. But it's such a thick branch. But what I thought I might do is strap it. So actually where my finger is now, it pulls quite nicely and pulls both pads down. If I put a strap on there and then hook it round one of the wires that holds it in its pot, and it would have to stay like that for years for it to set, but it would improve the tree. There's not much else. This is a weak branch here. If I cut anything off of that, there won't be much left. And if you look at it, this whole tree could do without that. It would still be quite a nice tree without that branch. So if that branch remains weak, I may take it off completely. Anyway, that's that one. Now, round behind me, on the newly completed staging. The staging itself was completed some time ago. I notice this wood has been indoors, it's dried dramatically, and now that it's come outside and the sun's got on it, it's showing cracks. Oh, it's character. Anyway, why this didn't get set up, bearing in mind it's only sat on bricks, was where it is. This ivy in the garden here had grown right out here, and that all had to be cut off, and that was, quite a big job. And it left all this area in a bit of a state, quite honestly. So I had to wait for that to be done, because I didn't want to have to put these bricks down and then move them. So that was the problem, was putting the bricks down in a more permanent position, which I've now done. And so we've now got the two bits of staging, yeah? So, I'm presenting my bonsai a little bit better, should we say. Now, this is my, endearingly known as my birthday tree, my Japanese white pine, which is doing okay. I made a mistake with this year. I quite happily, own up to mistakes. I took the flowers off on the grounds that I was told they sap the strength. Or I read in some ancient scroll or rune somewhere or other. And now I know it was a mistake. They should have been left because it damaged the tips of those shoots. And as a consequence, I've had virtually no new growth on this tree this year. It's not a big deal. The buds are there for next year. Yeah, we can do bud selection. We will have new growth next year. Some wiring's been done, some branch selection's been done. The final placement in the pot hasn't been done, but it's in a bonsai pot and it's coming on. This Japanese black pine is just not a very good tree. Not very happy with that at all. I don't like the way I bought it this shape. This was pre-wired. You can see the scars. I've only recently taken them off. I've got plenty of growth at the apex. What I haven't got is a good choice of branches to go with that shaped trunk. So I really don't know what I'm going to do with that at the moment. Then we've got a little juniper here. This is I could sit on this thing, couldn't I? So I need to get down lower. It's not a bad little tree, quite honestly. It's got some shape to it. It's got some wire on it. And the pads are in development, which just means every now and again I just go along and pinch the tips out. Just keep doing this every now and again and they'll thicken up. Not too often. We should run out of things to pinch. But it stops these very long ones like this. It stops that. Just pinch them back and they'll bush up. Don't do it all at once, just do a bit at a time. and gradually thicken up the pads until at some point you can look at a pad and think, right, now everything that's sticking up I'll take off, and I will create a proper pad. So this is in development, but I'm going to keep this one small. This one's not going to be a big tree. I do have a thing about big trees. I like big bonsai, but this one seems to work okay as a small tree. Starting to get some gnarly bark. Yeah, it's doing okay. Call that pot's warm. And then we got my copper beech, new tree, newly acquired, at a show earlier this year, the Blackmore Vale show that I went to, and that was an enjoyable day out, quite honestly. The highlight of the day had nothing to do with the trees whatsoever. It's the fish and chip van turned up for lunch. I know that sounds daft, but I haven't had chip shop style chips for so long, and I thoroughly enjoyed my sausage and chips. Stood in the car park in the shade because it was a hot day. Anyway, this is a recent thing, and that that wire is badly cutting in. That needs coming off. It's a deciduous tree, so I'm just loosening that bit. The rest of it's not too bad. Quite honestly, it stayed put as well. Anyway, it's okay. It's lost some of its purple. I was told full sun or it will lose its colour, but it will get it back next year. Next we've got this little thing, which I can never remember the name of. I bought this from a nursery, and that wire's biting in as well. That needs to come off. God, it catches you out, doesn't it, when you don't look? That's a job that needs doing. If you look down near the base of the trunk at that first right-hand branch, that wire is cut in badly. But this was just a bush, the typical cone-shaped bush that you get from a nursery. And there's a video, if you look back, it's a while ago now, of me arriving home with the bush and trying to find the tree inside the bush. And this was the tree I came up with, which the basic shape's not too bad. And this branch here might even need to go now and just leave this one, but it's shot out really well. We've got a lot of new growth on here, which can now be trimmed back to create some nice shaped pads, but that wire needs to come off, that's for sure. Ooh. Right, then these are my golden larch, which are not larch at all. Let's get that out of the way. This was the one where it's a sort of mini forest. 5 trees. It's difficult to create an appearance of a forest with only 5 trees, but I've tried, and I've tried to create some depth, and this moss has got to come out. This moss is horrible stuff. It gets right down, the roots of the moss get right down in the pot, and it's starting to take over this one. Anyway, it's grown nicely. The roots weren't good. I mean, this is this year's growth, so next year I will have enough growth to play with, to be able to shape. Some branches need to be pulled down, yeah, so that they cross over and create the tunnel effect that you get on a forest path. So coming on, and then this is another black pine. Look at that wire, it's cutting in badly. That's got to come off. I've been so busy doing other things lately. You know, you water your bonsai and you think that'll have to do. I'm busy doing other things. And just as an idea of the other things I've been doing, that was yesterday's job, attacking that bamboo. I've got to get that down to a manageable size, and literally I was using a mini chainsaw to cut these really long pieces off. As you know, there's still some action to do in this garden to get it tidy and manageable, because it's been, you know, the previous tenants just let it get out of hand beyond belief, actually. I mean, some of these new growths that were sticking up that I've cut off, they were actually heading towards 20 feet long. Now, some of them have been cut right off at the base. Got a 20-foot bamboo cane in the garden now, and all this lot's got to be cleared up. You know, it's all work. Anyway, the last couple to look at. We've got this Chinese juniper here. This is the one that the 2 air layers failed and have been trimmed as a consequence. I didn't take them right back in because they'll probably end up being gins. So final branch selection has not been done on this tree. Initial shaping has not been done. This is as I got it, minus the 2 branches where the air layers failed. The 2 rocks on the top are to stop it blowing over in the wind, but this has got some really nice shape inside here, and next year we will get onto that and we'll turn that into a bonsai very quickly. Branch selection, shaping, and the pads are almost there. So that should come on quite quickly. And then let's just get this out of the way. And then we've got my Deshojo, complete with weeds. We'll get rid of them before they seed. And this has held its shape mainly this year as a consequence of that initial pinching that was done in the spring, which was tedious. But I think it was worth it because it's almost kept its pads separate. It's almost still looking like a bonsai rather than a giant bush, which it did last year. Last year it was just a bush. It looked ridiculous. And it had to be hacked. So apart from that initial pinching that was done early in the spring, I've done next to nothing to this year. Now, a few things have escaped, but not many. So what I'm looking forward to with this is the autumn colours. This has had a lot of sun this year. We should get some nice colour on this. And that's the collection basically, short and sweet. You know, I haven't got many trees, I always said. There are only a few. Most of the ones I've got I like. Some of the ones I'm not happy with yet, but I'm hoping I will be. And there's nothing like some bonsai lit up in the sun. Take advantage because I think that might be on its way out. We've certainly got cooler weather coming. Anyway, thanks for having a look round the garden with the bonsai trees. If you're not subscribed, it would be awfully nice if you did so and help this channel grow a bit. Do the old thumbs up unless you dislike the video, in which case you know what to do. There's a list. And yeah, thanks for dropping by and supporting the channel. See you again next time.